2,000 years later.
But yeah,
But-
so RBI baseball.
Yeah.
All right. So RBI baseball is definitely the best baseball game on Nintendo.
Oh, definitely. I
But
agree.
sports, if you would, if we're doing conventional, and conventional I mean hockey, basketball, baseball, football. I gotta go with Nintendo's ice hockey.
You know what? I feel I'd be shaming my Nintendo fandom. I never played it.
Really? Oh my god, dude! Nintendo ice hockey, and I could be wrong. This is out of the hockey games I've played, it's the only game where not only are there fights,
Yeah.
but whole teams fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean they do it in like a cutesy Nintendo way, but
Yeah.
it's fantastic. But if we're keeping in sports and adding unconventional sports,
Yeah.
really my favorite sports game is Nintendo Pro Wrestling.
Oh. See, even before that time, I mean, I didn't get into wrestling until like I was in intermediate high school, like
Mm.
ninth grade. That's when Stone Cold was getting over. But I seen flashes of it because for me, the wrestling was on both for Raw and Nitro was
Mm.
literally side by side channel for me on my cable.
Right, right.
So when I'm watching Raw or Nitro, you just click back and forth.
Right.
But at that time, I didn't really get into play pro wrestling games until N64 age. So
Well, yeah, at the time there was no real good wrestling games in general. But pro wrestling, and it's funny because pro wrestling has the same music as really any Nintendo sports game. Baseball had dun 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 dun. So pro wrestling had that same shit. Did you ever play it before?
no,
It's good. It's good, and it
I
probably holds up. It probably holds up. I got to see if I can remember. Let's see. The fighters, the wrestlers are Fighter Hayabusa, Starman, Giant Panther, the Amazon, and King Slender. And King Slender is basically Ric Flair.
Oh, you know what? I think I might have dabbled in that one because I remember Starman.
Starman was fantastic. It's a good game.
Have all the WWF versions, and those are horrible.
Oh, you talking about like WrestleMania on NES and
WrestleManias.
Yeah,
And all the
and Acclaim made those games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was either Acclaim or LGN.
Acclaim was a Long Island company.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was based on Long Island. Yep.
But I was like, I mean, I can understand kids want to play that. I mean, even back then, I'm sure kids probably like, oh, this is awesome. We get to play WWF on NES. Like, there's some dog shit games that
terrible.
Were horrible, but I have nostalgia because I was a fan of the TV product.
Right. In the arcade. It's interesting. It's interesting. If I was to say the wrestling game I played the most in the arcade was WWF WrestleFest.
Yeah.
Right? And then but it's tough. It's between that game and WrestleMania the arcade.
Really?
Do you ever play that?
Oh yeah, I played.
Plays kind of like Mortal Kombat almost.
It's funny because they didn't have it laid down right. They're like, even the NES games, at least they're like, okay, you pinned them. in the arcade, like the WrestleMania arcade, it's like you said, it's Street Fighter or Mortal
Right.
Kombat version. And like there's a life bar, and you
Right.
and get to the end of the life bar, then you pin.
Right. Right. Right.
But
It-
and there's a second round too, because there's rounds in wrestling,
and
right?
not only that, you're doing like 1 versus 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're doing, obviously there's moves where like the Undertaker pulls out a tombstone, an actual tombstone, and smashes it over someone's head. Like Razor Ramon would swing an actual razor at your head. Um, it was just fun. It was just different at the time, and that's when WWF at the time was not that popular.
No. That's
It
when
it
uh
died.
oh yeah, WCW was kicking its ass at that
Yeah,
time.
it was starting to gain momentum. That's because Hogan left.
Yeah.
So, the main guy for WWF at the time was Bret the Hitman Hart and like Shawn Michaels. Those were the two main guys. And well, obviously at the time, the Undertaker was my favorite guy. And that's when he was like the villain.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was a because I remember they had WrestleMania the arcade, and I believe they had a follow up to that, and that was WWF in your house.
I was that an arcade game? Or
I no, I it might have been a console game, but didn't it play just like WrestleMania?
okay. I'm pretty sure I got that. I think I might have got it for the Saturn or PS1.
Saturn, yeah, I had a fucking Saturn. I always had I always had the bizarre like the like because I had the Sega Master System before I had the NES.
Really?
Yeah. Um,
Let
and
me
then
get
what?
let me get your take on that, because for me, uh I never heard of Sega until the Genesis. And it was until later in life. So Master System, I was like, because I was around Oklahoma, all you hear was just Nintendo,
Right.
NES. And then when Sega came out with Genesis, that was turning the tide. But I never heard of Master System.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have either, but what happened was, um, I was shopping, Christmas shopping with family, and what at a mall, which we do, and I remember I don't know if I was in Macy's or A&S. A&S doesn't even exist anymore, but we walked past, and then they had a Sega Master System playing, and at the time, you had the graphics on games were just shit. I mean, you had stick figures. Like I had a ColecoVision. ColecoVision was definitely an upgrade from the Atari, but it still was not that great. So seeing a Sega Master System, which had a definite upgrade, I was like, whoa. And I remember the first game I saw was Alex Kidd in Miracle World. And I was like, what is this? Holy shit, this looks amazing. So I asked for that for Christmas. And this is before, I don't even know if I even knew Nintendo even existed yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't even a thing until my friend had got it up the corner from me. And he got the original. I'm sure if you get one of these, it's got to be expensive, but the original with Rob the Robot.
I got a Robot Robot, and it kind of functions. It doesn't want to work completely, but I'd pay $20, like at least 15 years ago.
But you see
So
how they took chances back then? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that was like a cool thing at the time. It kind of was a pain in the ass to play a game with, but it was still cool. It was still a cool gimmick.
Oh yeah, and that's what it was, is a gimmick. And like, yeah, it was cool. Robots during that time was a big thing
Right.
during the 80s. So I mean, they were trying to get out from. They were trying to con people to buy a console when gaming system was a dirty word at that time.
Right. So yeah,
So
so I was a goofy kid. I had the Master System before I had Nintendo, and then I had After Nintendo, I got a TurboGrafx 16, and that was like, they TurboGrafx 16, they were full of shit. Okay, so TurboGrafx 16, like, was 16-bit? No, you weren't. You might have been 16-bit music and sound, but you definitely weren't 16-bit graphics, right? I'm not to say that's
I
not to
don't know.
say. Listen, compare TurboGrafx 16 to Genesis or Super Nintendo. There's no comparison.
It's, I'm saying they're definitely on the weaker end between Super Nintendo and Genesis. But I mean, some of the graphics were definitely
They were upgraded.
were
But
upgraded.
no, there was. I think it was just they had more colors.
I don't know, because I mean, even though this is a horrible game, I think it's China Warrior where they have a giant character walking around. That's literally it's got like the reverse version of Kung Fu, and he's just like just hitting enemies, and then bats will come out. He would had to hit bats,
I don't
but
think I ever played that.
it's horrible.
I play. All right, so it came with Keith Courage and Alpha Zones,
Yeah,
and then all right, so that technically is the first game because it came with it. Remember, that's when fucking systems. That's when consoles came with games, which is now
yeah.
another thing that nobody knows about. And not only did it come with a game, it came with two fucking controllers. Um, the
Hold
yeah.
on. For most system, yes, but TurboGrafx they only had one input, and I don't know
Oh,
if they
that's
were
right.
two controllers, but you had to have the turbo tap. But
That's
I
right.
didn't know. Maybe they came with a second controller.
I don't yeah that it's but I remember the first game I had to buy for TurboGrafx was Legendary Axe.
Oh yeah,
Um, and then after that it was Splatterhouse. And the thing with Splatterhouse was it was a very good game, right? But the problem was the first time I saw Splatterhouse was in the arcade. And
yeah.
if you ever see Splatterhouse in the arcade, it's way more violent and gory than the TurboGrafx version.
See, I actually recently did the gameplay of Splatterhouse. It's on the eShop on the Switch, and I'm sure it's
Oh,
on the
is it?
yeah, it's
Which
on the
the
eShop.
arcade version or the TurboGrafx version?
It's the arcade version.
Now that they still have his mask as white.
Yeah,
Oh wow! Because I thought that would be like because that's why they had to change the mask to red because they were worried they're getting sued by
but
I guess New Line Cinema owns that, but Jason Voorhees. But
yeah, but I do got a question.
yeah,
When he's chopping the heads off, and the the goo goes against the wall. Is that supposed to be red, or was that always supposed to be green?
it was
Like,
always green.
okay, I thought maybe they censored it because
No, it was always green.
okay, I thought maybe they censored that.
But it's still because you got to remember it's still gore was almost non-existent in video games at the time.
Yeah,
This is before Mortal Kombat, right? Um, the first gory game that existed, as far as I remember, was a game made by Exidy. If people listen don't know what Exidy is, Exidy made Crossbow, which is it's a light gun game, but you have a crossbow, and what happens is that your characters would walk slowly across the screen, and you'd be shooting the shit in the background to
oh
protect
yeah.
them. Yeah, you'd be protecting them from all the obstacles that surround them, and you'd have to make a cross. You never play Crossbow,
No, it
dude?
sounds like
Look up Crossbow on like YouTube.
it
Great fucking game.
sounds like Baby Boomer,
Oh, I don't think
where
I've ever played it.
well, it's on the NES, but you have a baby going crossing the the ground,
Mm.
and you're preventing stuff from killing it, or you're helping it continue.
Right. Oh, so that's all right. So Baby Booner is a fucking Crossbow ripoff. We just figured that out. Crossbow was more of a fantasy theme. Then they had a game that was like that called Cheyenne, which was like the Old West. Played like the same thing, but it was the Old West. But Exidy made a game called Chiller. Okay.
Chiller.
And Chiller is very fucking gory. And it was kind of, I never saw it in the arcade physically because it was kind of like it was like a banned game. Like you weren't allowed to play that shit. There was torture in that fucking game. Like it was, but that was the first time there was really gore in video games. Then the first game that I remember on besides Splatterhouse that I remember on a home console that I really saw real gore where heads were exploding and brains and all kinds of shit was a game on Sega Genesis. It was called The Immortal. And you played a wizard. And it was kind of like on a 3/4 scale, like a 3/4 what is it called? A 3/4 view.
Yeah.
And like you'd fight enemies and you'd get to the screen and you'd go back and forth fighting an enemy. And then when you kill the enemy, there was different animations of the killing. So you'd stab the enemy or you'd make his head explode. Or it was just it was fucking go look up The Immortal, Sega Genesis. Fantastic.
I might have that because I tried not to. I have a shitload of Genesis games, man, but both in the cases and loose. The Immortal, I'll have to look that up.
I have right now. When I say that game, I can hear the music in that fucking game. It was a really different and cool fucking game. But yeah, TurboGrafx, and that was TurboGrafx sports games was TV sports football, TV sports hockey. I think that's really the only fucking.
Oh, dude, they have several versions of TV sports, like football, baseball, and
Oh, I didn't even think I've ever seen the baseball one.
Dude, I got lucky when I used to live in Pennsylvania. There was a store, a pawn shop called Easton Exchange. Easton is just outside, I think, New Jersey, I believe.
Okay.
And I went into the store and they had a stack about this much of TurboGrafx cards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I think they offered me $100 to forward the whole stack. And there's some rare ones, like Earzonk was in there. And I even said, as a stupid person, I was like, "Oh no, well that's money right here." I was trying to be a nice guy but they're like, "Oh, if you pay 100, we'll give you this whole thing right now." I guess they tried to piece those away and never selling them, or they got them and they were like, "Let's just turn a profit immediately."
Right.
So I was cheap minded, so I was like, "Well, let me take the ones that I already have." So eventually, I only paid $80, and then like I had a whole stack of them like that. So, and I still have that whole stack of them right now. Like it grew because I collected them, but
Oh, nice. Another great game on TurboGrafx was they had a really good port of R-Type.
R-Type is great.
R-Type is fantastic. And they also had two games, Alien Crush and Demon Crush, which were like a cool pinball fucking weird version. It was, again, taking chances. Nobody would take those chances anymore today.
Probably not.
Yeah, so TurboGrafx, and then I got a Genesis. And then my parents were like, listen, you got to pick one. You can't have every fucking system here. So that's why I never, of all the major consoles, the one I didn't have, believe it or not, growing up, was Super Nintendo.
I see that because my parents got me a Sega Genesis.
Mm.
And it was pretty much the same thing. They're like, you can't have both unless you work for it and buy your own. And that's eventually what I did.
Mm.
So, I mean, Super Nintendo cost, I guess, $200 at that time. So, I saved my allowance from doing chores and stuff until I had enough to do that.
Right.
So,
yeah, I had to pick. Like, I had to be Team Sega because I had a Sega Genesis. That's the only reason. It's not like I fucking
No, I'm pretty much. I agree with you.
yeah.
If I choose, I can see why people like the Super Nintendo, but I kind of like. I grew up with Genesis, dude. I had the Sega Channel.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and not a lot of people know what the Sega Channel is where you get 50 games to try every month, and it was like clockwork. The second it struck at midnight for the next month, it would load up a brand new screen. They'll have a bunch of the same stuff from the previous months, but they'll have something sprinkled in.
Yeah, there was Game Pass before it was Game Pass.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that got me to play some games that well would never played. Like Theme Park is one of my favorite
Yeah.
games. I would never played it if not for the Sega Channel and playing different. Here's the kicker, though. On the Sega Channel, I guess that they had so much data they could work with. Here's like you play a fighting game, and they'll have like a couple of the characters missing.
Oh really?
Yeah,
That sucks.
they would take a couple of characters out, and the same thing with like Mortal Kombat. Like some of the characters are missing, so because at that time it was going through a cable, and I guess you could only push so fast, and
Right,
yeah,
because the internet was at the time was not fucking really that fast at all.
or not even non-existent almost
Right.
at that time.
Well, what year are we talking?
Oh God, I don't know, between 93 or 95.
Yeah, because Sega Genesis was the first console I remember that had a dedicated modem.
Yeah.
Right, because that was the first. That was even the first console I remember having console to console play. But they had the
Oh,
X band.
yeah. It's funny. I remember Ken brought that up, and it's
Yeah,
funny. He brought that up one day, and I went to a game store who had the Sega Genesis X band in the box. And I picked that one up,
yeah.
and they had a Super Nintendo, but I didn't have the money to get both.
Oh, I didn't know Super Nintendo had one.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't even know that. See, I look at Super Nintendo. All right, so Super Nintendo had like very good games, right?
yeah,
Like obviously Mario, Zelda, Metroid, all those games were fantastic, right? But when it came a game, like if it was the same game on Super Nintendo and Genesis, right? You know how like games now, like on PS5, when I play a game, you get a choice. Do you want to play it in performance mode, which is higher frame rate, or do
yeah,
you want to play it? I forget what they call the other one, resolution mode, or I forget what they call it. Right. So resolution, yeah, right. It's clearer, but less frame rate, and performance mode is not 4K, but it's like the higher frame rate. I look
yeah.
at I look at Genesis as the performance mode because it had a higher frame rate. Like when you played NHL hockey on Genesis versus Super Nintendo, you could tell right away there was frames missing on the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, it was definitely the Genesis was a lot faster, but
But Nintendo had the more colors.
yeah,
It could
the
do
better
other shit. Yeah.
it had. I mean, the only reason it had the better sound because it had that Sony chip, and that's the only reason why. It
Right.
probably would just about as the same quality from Genesis if it didn't have that.
Right. Right.
Even Genesis had a pretty good sound, anyways. Though it had more a twang or a grunge
Yeah.
almost.
And I like how sometimes when you change screens, like
Yeah,
one note would fucking stretch into the next screen. It would kind of, it almost sounded like a guitar guy bending a fucking note. It's like, wing. It's like, what the, you know what had some of the best music on Genesis was Road Rash.
yes, and that was like heavy metal kind of. It was kind of like that, and that's reminds me when he did that note. That's directly coming from that.
Here's a little thing about Road Rash. You ready?
Yeah,
Do you listen to Primus?
I'm sure I've heard.
You,
Listen.
well, Primus is Les Claypool. They do the theme song for South Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's Primus.
Oh.
So hold on, I gotta remember the name of the song now. Let's see, Sausage, album. So there was a side band for Primus called Sausage.
Sausage.
Yeah, and the cover of this album is fucking bizarre. But I gotta see there's a song on the album. I think it's called "The Toys Are Winding Down," and I can't prove this. Like nobody's ever came clean about it. But if you play the song, shit, it's not gonna show me. Oh, here it is. All right, so it's called Toys 1988.
Mm.
Which could actually shit all over my fucking theory, but maybe Road Rash is the one who stole it. But I swear to you, if you listen to that song, that fucking song is the Road Rash music.
Mm.
It's
Well, you
you.
know what? It wouldn't shock me because a lot of times companies will straight up rip off the music, and they'll just it's kind of like WCW. They kind of they take a song and they just change it just enough so they don't get sued. So, but it's almost recognizable what it is. So
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. So EA, there you go. Perfect example. This is why they're morons. If I was working for EA, I would be like, hey guys, why don't we make a fucking modern Road Rash? The fuck are we
Oh,
doing?
yeah.
You know what I mean? How fucking awesome would that be? Like they're
Yeah.
just dumb. They're just fucking stupid.
I think the last Road Rash I heard it was probably for the PlayStation 1.
And what was it? Road Rash 3D?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it. And after that, it just died.
Yeah. Road Rash was a great fucking game.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's like Sony, right? How the fuck is Sony not putting out a Twisted Metal game?
Yeah, that's true.
Like what? What are you doing?
Well,
Twisted Metal 2 is a top 10 PS1 game for me. Twisted Metal 2 is unbelievable. Ken used to get so mad at me when we played that game. He used to get so fucking mad at me. Because if anybody, Twisted Metal 2, my favorite character was Spectre, which was like the little white. I mean, what was that? A Corvette, maybe? I don't remember exactly. It was an old vet, I think.
I don't remember.
He had it. I remember it had almost no armor, the car, but it was fast as fuck. And its special missile it shot, it would like whistle, go, and it would go through buildings and shit and seek out people.
Yeah.
And he used to get so mad. He's like, you in this fucking car with these fucking missiles. He's like, you're fucking 3 blocks away and missiles are coming through fucking buildings. He used to get so fucking mad. He used to get mad at me on GoldenEye because I used to use Jaws. And he would swear up and down that Jaws had more health. I'm like, he doesn't have fucking more health. He's got the same health as anybody. I said, and not only that, he's a gigantic fuck that when he walks through a fucking doorway, he fills the doorway. So if you can't hit him, I don't know what the fuck you want me to tell you. Like,
I'm gonna piss you off with this.
what?
I love my Bond games,
Yeah.
but I wasn't a big. I think because of controls, and I can say even playing some of the modern version, I'm not a fan of GoldenEye.
Oh, well, the controls now are terrible.
Oh yeah, dude, when I was playing Agent Under Fire or the other ones that came later, I loved those. I loved them.
But you got to remember, dude, like GoldenEye having multiplayer first-person shooter like that on a console, because that existed on the computer, right? You had Doom was online, Quake was online, all that shit was online. But on console, that was the first one, right?
Yeah.
4-screen co-op, not co-op, against each other. No other game did that, and that was the funnest shit to ever be done.
Well, it's be funny nowadays. I mean, yeah, we have flat screen TVs and a little easier to see four ways. But like God, I think like a 20-something inch TV was like if you're lucky to have that, and
Right.
then you're cutting that in four ways now, and like, oh my God,
Well,
how
at the time I had a it was expensive. Took me a while to pay it off, but I had and this is 1997,
Mhm.
98. I had a 40-inch tube television.
Oh shit.
It weighed 300 fucking pounds
Oh God.
because it was glass. You know what I mean? It was a giant, but it was a Mitsubishi. I remember it was a Mitsubishi, and it was one of those picture-in-picture televisions where you could play a video game and watch a football game in the corner at the same time. Which, by the fucking way,
That's
why
insane.
that went away is beyond fucking me. That was one of the best things that television could ever do. It was
Well,
unbelievable. I'd be playing a video game, and in a little, like, you know how right now you look at Skype and you see like your picture like as in the corner, and
yeah,
that's what it was like. So I'd be playing like Mario Kart, let's say, and
yeah.
I'd have the Giants game in the corner like that, and I'd be able to look up at it real quick and see what's going on. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? Oh, it's 3rd and 5. Hold on, let me pause the game. And then with a click of a button, I would take the fucking game and make that the main screen. It was fucking amazing.
See, I wish it was. I agree to that. The only thing I would I wish they had some type like Back in the Future too, where you could not like have like 6 channels at the same time,
Right,
but like have half the screen dedicated to one channel
right,
and half the screen to another. I think
right.
that would have been greater, but I I was not a huge fan of the picture in picture because like that's the reason. I wish it was kind of like that because you could like, oh, something happened. I want to bring this completely up now,
Right,
but
right, right. But yeah, so we play on that big screen, GoldenEye,
yeah.
and what we would do is we would make this makeshift curtain up.
Mm,
So we would tape, like, it was like a curtain rod. I believe it
yeah.
was a curtain rod, and we would tape it to the top of the television and hang a curtain right down the center of it. Because,
Uh,
playing GoldenEye, you'd be able to look at somebody else's screen and know exactly where they are. So we would do that and play teams, and it changed every fucking thing because now nobody knows where anybody is.
that's brilliant.
Oh, it was fucking amazing. It changed everything. I'll never forget. We were playing,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, Ken, he hits my arm like, look at this, look at this. And I see him sneak up behind my friend with the fucking Magnum. And my friend's hiding in the corner, and he's just hiding there waiting. And he sneaks
Yeah.
up behind the corner, and he goes, look, 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 look. He walks right up to the back of his head. Boom. And he goes, and my friend goes, oh, what happened? What happened? You fucking hiding, asshole. And we stuck behind you, you piece of shit. That's what happened. He was camping before camping was a thing.
It's funny because I remember playing on my original Xbox. It would be me and my dad,
Mm.
and you're playing one on one. And a lot of times when you're playing one on one, you start on one side of the map, and he's on the other.
Mm.
And what I would love to do is get the bazooka where the missile was guided. So
Oh, yeah.
I would be tucked under the staircase that was in this building. So I would hook it around the staircase through the door, and it'd be like trying to locate where my dad is.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then he would tuck into the building. I would a lot of times I would get him because it was guided, but it was funny because I would be tucked in and like I was good at that time, but
Mm.
probably nowadays I'd probably be rusty as fuck.
There's certain games that have to come back. Like, listen, I used to play Call of Duty a lot. I put a lot of time into Call of Duty, especially Call of Duty World at War, and Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Those are my two favorites. And
Oh,
Modern Warfare 1, the original one. But before that, my favorite game, multiplayer first-person shooter, was Unreal Tournament on the
oh,
computer. Oh my God, Unreal Tournament was so fucking good. It was so fucking good. It was just so like that. That has to come back. They have to bring that back. The thing, Unreal Tournament, like Unreal, that whole the game of like for people listening that don't know this, when you hear the Unreal Engine, Unreal Engine 2, Unreal Engine 3, 4, 5, there was a video game called Unreal
yeah.
on the computer, and that's where that started. Unreal was like at the time was like great graphics. It was the best graphics of a first-person shooter, and Unreal Tournament was that engine but multiplayer, where you run around and just start killing it. And it moved so fast. It was so like really fast, and you just fucking just missiles are flying, and your avatar would talk shit by itself, like you'd kill somebody, and your avatar would go, "Die, bitch." And you'd fucking take somebody's head off you. And you hear your avatar go, "I'm sorry, did I blow your head apart?" Or you'd be able to go into like a menu and pick what you'd want it to say, and then they started modding, and they started adding voices. So then I like my screen name was Jedi XL. So my voice is Darth Vader. So motherfuckers would talk shit to me like fucking Jedi XL, you'd suck. And then I'd hit Darth Vader's voice and go, "I find your lack of faith disturbing." Like it was, and then people started building their own stages. So there was a whole stage made of nothing but Legos.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I remember. No, it was a whole stage made of nothing but Legos, and everybody was playing a different Simpsons character.
Oh,
So you'd shoot Homer, you hear "Don't, don't." It was fucking amazing. Like it was so at the end, it was so fucking amazing, and that's like missing. That shit is bring back fucking Unreal Tournament. They have Quake Champions, like
yeah.
that's a thing, but it's not on console.
It's just sadly nowadays, like no one wants it. The only company, maybe this is my fandom showing through. I might be biased, but I feel like the only one that's really innovating still is Nintendo. Still, I
Yeah.
mean, like they're even taking shots with the Switch. I mean, you had the fucking Steam Deck, and now you got the
Oh
fucking
yeah. All right, Nintendo takes chances, and they do still do that,
yeah.
but they're very stubborn, right? So
Oh yeah,
the rumor is the next Switch that's supposed to come out this fall, right? The rumor is that it's as powerful as the vanilla PS4, and if that's the case, what the fuck are you doing, Nintendo? Like, serious. They used to go as far as power wise. They used
yeah,
to go right along with everyone, right? GameCube, like, all right. So Super Nintendo was in line with Genesis, right? We just talked about that. They were different, but it was in line.
yeah,
Then you had Nintendo 64 was in line with Super Nintendo. It was a little different, but power wise, it was around the same shit. Then you had Nintendo GameCube, right? The GameCube was in line with PS2 and Xbox, the original Xbox, right? So the power versions were always in line. They
yeah,
kind of went awry at the Wii.
yeah.
That's when it went awry. I don't know why they fucking did that. I don't know what I mean, maybe it's to keep costs down. I don't know what it was,
I
but
think that's exactly what it was because you never seen a $400 Nintendo console. It was,
right.
I think, the
You're gonna
Wii,
see it now.
yeah, like the black Wii U, I believe was $350, and it's not. It had nothing super special except it just had more memory. It
Okay.
wasn't because it was more powerful
Right.
than the Wii U. It was just because I think the basic one only had like 5 gigs, while the black one had 32 gigs,
Right.
and that was the only difference. And it cost uh $50 more.
the other thing is they probably look at it as like, do I need to have the power of a PS5 to put out a good Mario game? And the answer is no. Obviously, Super Mario Wonder is fucking amazing.
Oh yeah.
So,
Not,
but they have to look outside of that, like their third party support. But here's the problem: is they still sell just as many fucking consoles as anybody. So why should they have to change?
and like you brought up Super Mario Wonder. When I first saw the video, the trailer for it, I was actually not impressed with
Mm.
it because, like, I did like Super Mario Bros. Wii, but when they did the Wii U version, it was like the copy and paste version.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but I've seen people really enjoy it, and like I can see why people see the same thing still. But if you played the game, it's fun. It's great.
it's very fun.
Yeah.
It's very fun. But the only thing is, like, I almost exclusive. The only time I play my Switch is if I'm, and it should be. Actually, this is not true. What I'm about to say was bullshit because I played this when Zelda, the newest Zelda came out. I
Here's
played it. I played it on my television. But outside of that, I
yeah.
only usually play when I'm on like a plane, I'm flying somewhere or whatever. I'll play it. Um. So, but like besides that, I'm almost exclusively PlayStation. I mean,
Oh, I understand that. Like when I'm playing my Switch, 9 out of 10 times I'm playing it in portable mode
yeah,
Be- because I'll be like in on the toilet, uh, or I get flack for this, but like I would soak in the tub and I'll be playing the Switch.
why do you get flack for that?
Well, but no, people like, oh, like they're like, "Are you gonna drop that?" I was like, well, one, I have a grip on it where like makes it even harder for it to accidentally slip out of your hand.
Right.
But know how people would the cell phone would easily slip out of your hand, but when you have a grip like the one I have, it's hard to do that.
Right.
But
I mean, yeah, but it's like you know the risk, and you take the fucking risk, right?
yeah,
So I mean, whatever. Um, but yeah, Nintendo. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're selling enough consoles to say, hey, we're gonna do it our way. Go fuck yourself. But like I'd never like they weren't high definition until the Wii U.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And already fucking it was a decade of high definition video games at the time. So they dance to the beat. I wonder if the new one's gonna still be those little SD cards for games.
I bet money they will. I'm hoping because with all the physical media going away very shortly.
Oh no, don't tell me. I hope they don't do that. That would piss me off.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm hearing. Like Walmart, Best Buy, and all of them are getting out of the physical game business.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is happening. And but you know what pisses like what people don't understand is that let's say if your internet goes out, you can play fucking games. If you have digital, you can't play them. What the fuck good is that? It's
No,
ridiculous.
like plus, if you want to buy it, you have like yeah, you can pre-order it and it'll preload, but it won't unlock until
Right.
uh, uh, the embargo is uh, expired.
But how stupid is it that if I download the game, right? Whatever it
Yeah,
is, let's say it's 30 gigs, 40
yeah.
gigs, I should be able to play the fucking thing offline. You know what I mean?
This is Switch games, and I'm sure some of the console games are able to do that. Unless you're gonna play something online, then that's different. But
I don't know. Well, I just feel like, because now people are starting to see the uh, what's happening. People they're losing the fucking movies that they bought digitally and their TV shows and some video games because they lost the license. Up, the game's gone. It's like, listen, if I pay fucking money, I want to own the game. I paid
Yeah.
money. I own the fucking thing. Don't tell me I don't own it. I own it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing that people don't get is like the fact that they're charging you the same price for a
Oh,
digital version as they do for a physical is disgusting.
oh, I agree. And,
But people pay the fucking money. That's why Louis Vuitton gets $1,000 for a fucking pocketbook because there's enough assholes to spend $1,000 for a fucking pocketbook. That's why. If everybody stopped, I tell my wife all the time, I said, if all you fucking broads all got together, and I know it's tough, but if you all got together and you said, you know what, this year we're not fucking buying Louis Vuitton handbags, then guess what? Next fucking year, Louis Vuitton handbags, half the fucking price.
oh
That's what
yeah,
would happen. But, nobody can get on the same fucking page, so that's what we get.
it's the same thing for the man. It's like you brought up that. I mean, they need to get those people to stop buying it if they want to innovate or make the game worthy of our money.
Not only that,
And,
stop doing the microtransactions. What the
oh,
fuck, dude? What the fuck? Oh, you may have, it's like, oh, listen, you may have Saquon Barkley on your team, but do you have the legendary Saquon Barkley? Like, fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I need to have a gold version. Like, and it's not even like a real physical card. It's fucking, it doesn't exist. It's like it's an NFT basically.
exactly.
It's the
See,
dumbest shit.
see, I can understand because I this is probably lose a little respect for you, but I like Fortnite.
I mean,
And
listen, it's a fine game
yeah,
and it's free to play, right? You don't have to pay for it.
yeah, that's true. And you're not
But it's not
forced
all that you play.
no,
Right.
but I was addicted for a couple years, but I don't play it as often anymore because I kind of got old of it.
Right.
But it was great when they would have a skin like, oh, I can buy Venom as a skin, but it's weird Venom going around with a gun.
Right.
Or you have the xenomorph from Alien going around with a gun.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Or even John Cena, who
Yeah.
has the WWE title on his back, going around with a gun. It just felt it's crazy, but or even Batman going
Or
around with a
or,
gun.
or Superman
Oh, God,
that, by the way, can't fly, but
can't
he can run
fly.
around with a fucking gun.
Oh my God! Like they have Thanos in there,
Wait a
and
minute. I just fucking thought of something, dude.
oh no,
How fucking awesome would it be to have a battle royale game where, and when I say battle royale, usually that's like 100 people. I don't know if you could do it with 100 people, but let's say it's 10 people. I'm just going to use the number 10.
yeah,
And everybody picks a different superhero.
ooh,
And you can only pick the superhero once, right? So what happens is in the beginning of the game, there's like a fucking raffle, and then it's like a draft.
yeah,
So, it's randomly who gets the first pick, who gets the second pick, right? And nobody can pick the same superhero twice.
yeah,
And you pick a superhero and they have all their superpowers, right? So Superman would be able to fly and do all that shit. Batman would be, he would have his shit. Like they would, obviously you would try to balance it out where, you would say Superman, how the fuck are you gonna beat him? He's flying around and fucking shooting lasers out of his fucking eyes. What the fuck are you gonna do? But like
yeah.
you'd figure out a balanced way to handle that. But that would be fucking awesome, like in a big open world, and or like the Avengers, like
Well, here's an idea. To flesh that out a little bit. I mean, obviously, you got DC and Marvel.
right.
Which way would you go? Do you go with Marvel or DC?
Well, Marvel has more characters to choose
Yeah,
from, right? Um,
I would say so.
but Disney is such a bunch of douchebags that it's kind of hard to work with them. Um, I listen. I don't know. I mean, the thing with DC is they have great characters, but like after the top five, it is a big drop off. So you'd have to have heroes and villains, and
Yeah.
that means,
Oh,
and that, you know what that means? I'm picking
I
fucking villains.
I think not only have superheroes in this game, we had
Yeah.
to have villains in there too.
Yeah. So you'd have to do, yeah, that's what you'd have to do. But I think that could be a good fucking idea. Obviously, I don't know if a video game company, but that could be something. And if done
I,
correctly, they would ruin it somehow. They'd put microtransactions. They'd fuck it up somehow. They would fuck that up.
oh, definitely. I mean, they're greedy. They're trying to milk it out. That's why some of these companies are like they'll have the game complete on a fucking CD, and it's like, all right, let's go back and see what we can lock and force them to pay like $5 to unlock this or
Or what about
$10.
what about Super Smash Brothers World, where it's Super Smash Brothers, all the characters, but now it's 3D open world, and you fucking fight each other.
See, Nintendo keeps like they'll bring um stuff back. Like, dude, like they had one of the things that pisses me off, they had Super Mario Bros. 35. They had a battle royal
Really?
of Mario
Oh,
Bros.
I
1.
do remember this. Yeah, I do remember this.
And that was fucking awesome.
Right.
Because you tried, and it's not like you're just going through the normal game. Like, I think a lot of times you'll get to a certain spot. Sometimes it'll take you to somewhere else where somewhere is. And someone will throw something over there. Like, they'll put a bunch of enemies on your thing.
Right.
And it was fun. And they took
Yeah.
that thing away. And
Yeah, that's
I would still play that if it was still there.
I'm upset only because I didn't get to play it. I never got to play Super Mario Galaxy 2. I
That's a
played
good.
one. Yeah, I was hoping that they were gonna have like a remastered version when they came out with Super Mario All Stars, and for
Yeah.
some reason they had only Galaxy. I don't know what the fuck they did that for, but I still need to play that somehow. I don't know how the fuck it's gonna happen, but I like they don't even you can't even download it on the eShop. There's no
Nope.
why this is what I mean about them. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't understand.
See, they slow. They're, I think that kind of like their Nintendo library sections they do for the online service, but it's such a slow drip of games, and lately, it's not even good games what they release.
Right.
Like, first, I'm like, bam, here's your NES collection, your Super Nintendo, and your N64 collection. And then it just kind of like, yeah, they have the Genesis, but it's kind of like in there they give you a slow drip.
Right.
And even some of the drips are not even that good.
Right.
So I'm like, then why bother dropping that if you're gonna give us some crap game?
And the
Like,
the other thing is that listen, Breath of the Wild was fucking amazing, and so was Tears of the Kingdom, both unbelievably amazing. Especially because I'm like a guy that I love to explore shit. I love to find new shit in open worlds. It's one of my favorite shit to do. Um, but now, in my opinion, listen, we've done the cartoony looking shit, and it looks great. But let's go back. Let's take Zelda back into the realism realm. See what we can do in a realistic, more realistic look. Not the cartoony cell shaded shit. Let's get. That's why I'm upset they're not fucking trying to compete power wise with the PS5 and the Series
yeah,
X. Because if they wanted to do that, think about a fucking open world Metroid.
oh yeah,
You know what I mean? And you can. It doesn't even have to be first person. You could do it third person, like Breath of the Wild was. It would be fucking amazing. And you could, fly around on your ship at a certain point. You're on a giant planet, right? There's a lot of shit on the surface of the planet, but there's also shit on the ground, like Metroid should be. This is what I mean. I should be at Nintendo. Enough is enough, Nintendo. You stop with the fucking same old shit, right? Mario has been around forever, and Super Mario Brothers Wonder is amazing, but you gotta do something different. Do something a little different.
The 3D games are good though too. Like Odyssey's great.
Odyssey's great, absolutely. But you got to do something. Mario, you don't really have to fuck with. Like you can keep Mario as cartoony, that's fine. But with Zelda, let's get, let's go to a realistic look.
Well, I think the reason why, like, even it took like 5-6 years for the sequel, but I mean, that was a jump. I mean, yeah, you had the ones from the Wii
What,
and
Skyward Sword
yeah,
and fucking Twilight Princess?
yeah. I mean, honestly, I never played neither of them because
Really?
at that time I would rather play the NES version than that. And
Why not remake that? The original Zelda.
some people actually does that. They'll do like uh, a VR version or 3D version of that.
Yeah, I saw a remake of the original Castlevania, but
Mm.
done first person with the Doom engine.
Oh wow!
It looked awesome. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. That's another fucking thing. By the way, oh, it's 2:11, so I got to go soon. But that's another thing that drives me fucking crazy is that Konami is not doing anything with Castlevania, and that fucking pisses me off.
What?
That pisses.
How much time you got left?
I got to actually leave, but
We definitely gotta do this again, bro. Like,
but as before I leave, this is my idea for Castlevania, and I think I've said this before. If I was Konami, if I could wave a wand, I would take Castlevania. First of all, if you're not going to do anything with it, sell it.
yes.
Right? And my wish is for From Software, who makes Elden Ring and Bloodborne and Dark Souls,
Yeah.
to make an open world Castlevania game.
Oh yeah.
That's what my dream is. Because you would still have the difficulty that Castlevania should have. You'd have RPG elements, right? You could do like where you can carry whips and swords, whatever the fuck you want to carry. And they could do a gothic, dark theme horror. That's what should be done with Castlevania. They don't even do anything with it. It's one of the best IPs of all time, in my opinion. And it's a travesty that it's just sitting out there collecting dust. Fuck Silent Hill. Silent Hill's great, but listen, Castlevania, you pieces of shit, if you're listening, stop. Do something with it.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I can understand let a franchise sit for a little bit because if it's been used so much, it dies. But give it time to make you want it back, like
Dude,
Mega Man.
the last Castlevania, hold on, let's see if I'm going to get this wrong. No, I think I'm right. The last Castlevania game is Lords of Shadow 2. And that was on PS3 and Xbox 360.
Oh wow!
Okay, so what the fuck?
And we're 3 gens above that now?
Yeah. Well, no, so 2 gens because they were at PS5. That was PS3. So
yeah,
it's pathetic. It's pathetic. What they could do now with Castlevania would be so if handled correctly would be unbelievable. All right, so we have to do this again, Casey.
Oh, I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get together another time. We'll continue where we left off.
Yeah, because we're going off on tangents, and that's fine because that's what it should be. It should be a flow of, you know what I mean? But yeah, I could talk about this shit for days, And if I'm on mushrooms, I could talk on it for years. But
I appreciate you coming on.
No doubt, man.
We got to definitely do this again.
Yeah, man, I had a great time.
Oh, I loved it. It was awesome.
All right, brother.
All right, you take it easy, and you guys have a good day. We're gonna get out of here. See ya.
See you later.
See you, bro.
Bye.
Bye.